at the beginning of Phoebe's place, which I sent out just a few days ago. In case all of you didn't get to read it yet, I just wanted to read the first few sentences I put there. I said the lyricist for the hymn, America the Beautiful, which we just sang a short while ago, the lyricist is Catherine Lee Bates. And her grandfather was a pastor of our church. Amazingly, I recently learned of another fascinating connection between a grandfather, a granddaughter, and our church. A well-known prayer titled The Soldier's Prayer was written by Private Alan Osborne, grandfather of current church member Anastasia Zittle. So, I want to let you know that I really did have a sermon prepared for this day. But when I heard Anastasia share this beautiful story about her grandfather at a recent gathering of the LDS, I knew that this was actually the sermon that had to be shared here today. So with that in mind, I would invite Anastasia forward to share this beautiful story at this time.
My grandfather, Alan Osborne, was born on October 12, 1918, one of 14 siblings. Along with 2 other siblings, he served in the military during World War II. He was home from furlough, a private servant with the 45th Infantry. He was waiting at the Back Bay Railroad Station in Boston. He was headed to Pine Camp, New York, en route to heading overseas to fight in the war. It was just after Thanksgiving, and the date was November 28, 1942. Nightclubs in Boston were extra crowded that weekend because of all the military personnel home for the holiday and the big Boston College football game earlier in the day. It was the day of the Cocoanut Grove fire, the deadliest known nightclub fire to date in the world. Over 1,000 people were in the nightclub, even though the legal limit was 600. Because of poorly constructed and marked exits, along with highly flammable materials decorating the nightclub, 492 people died, hundreds went to the hospital, and countless others were affected. Doctors and nurses knew little about burn victims at this time, which contributed to the high death count. Because of this disaster, fire safety laws were created, codes that are still in place today. My grandfather and all of the other military personnel waiting at the train station was drafted to help with the Cocoanut Grove disaster. Local rescue workers were not equipped to handle a disaster of this magnitude, and there was no disaster plan in place. My grandfather was in the basement of the nightclub where the fire was believed to have started, where he collapsed because of the poisonous fumes, burns, and shock. He was eventually rescued by Salvation Army workers and was shipped back to Pine Camp, where he stayed for almost a year. While he was there, he wrote a poem called A Soldier's Prayer, dictated to the chaplain who was visiting him. My grandfather was a writer and a sports editor, but only wrote one other poem in his life. He said he was compelled to write the prayer and that it just came to him. In today's terms, the prayer went viral. It was read on the air by a local radio celebrity and then published in a few newspapers, and soldiers worldwide started carrying it around. It was originally published anonymously, but later attributed to my grandfather. Once the author was known, it started being published almost weekly in one paper or another throughout the rest of the world during the war. And to date, it has been published in almost 300 different newspapers and magazines throughout the world. Soldiers as far as Australia have been found to have a copy of the prayer on them. It eventually became the official service prayer of the Army, and over 2 million copies were distributed to soldiers over the next few years. It was even printed on the walls of Grand Central Station during the war. My grandfather never kept a penny from the royalties. All the money he earned was donated to the Veterans Overseas Athletic Funds. My grandfather remained hospitalized throughout most of the war, was promoted to corporal because of the career he wrote, and was later discharged because of his disabilities. After being out of the service for 2 years, he had to be hospitalized again because of his own injuries. At that time, the military did not consider those who helped at the Cocoanut Grove fire to be disabled veterans because they never actually fought overseas, which meant none of them got the benefits they deserved, or more importantly, veteran health care. He suffered severe damage to his lungs and had to be hospitalized many times over the following decades. The American Legion fought and won a test case on his behalf, based upon the idea that his furlough ended when he stepped foot at the Cocoanut Grove fire. Because of the test case, the military finally began paying hospital bills not only for my grandfather, but for other military injured at the nightclub as well. He continued to fight for his full military benefits until the late 1980s. Until the day he died, he refused to speak about what happened that day for him. On this Memorial Day weekend, let's take a moment to give thanks to all those who have served, both past and present, as I reach you a soldier's prayer. A soldier's prayer by Private Alan Osborne. O Lord, to thee on bended knee, I make to you my humble plea, to always do my very best, to bring to all peace and rest. Without a fear, without delay, to go along life's darkened way, to carry on our Christian faith, helping all of our race. God help to keep our spirits high as we go onward, do or die. In spite of danger from enemy gun, we kneel in prayer when day is done. When these days are forever past, please bring to all a peace at last. When the sun shines through the rain, thy weary heart shall be in pain. And when you bring this peace to men, please send us homeward once again. Amen.
But before I let you escape, there's this wonderful display that you put on this table here. That was wonderful, by the way. And I just really was so taken by that story. You know, one of the wonderful things about being a pastor, but I suppose one of the wonderful things about just being human is that recognition that everyone, when you stop to listen to them, has a sacred story, has a story in your life. And so I got to hear part of yours and yogas, and thank you for sharing with us now. Would you share what you have here on display so that we'll know what we're seeing?
This is my very favorite picture of my grandparents. Unfortunately, it's a very poor quality, but it's a picture of my grandparents when they got engaged, and they're sitting on the hood of my grandfather's car, and I just love this picture.
And they look very much in love, I can just say that.
And then, that's the only picture we actually have of my grandparents showing any affection whatsoever for each other, because that just was not done. You do not act like you loved each other in public. Even in front of your own kids, you do not do that. You're not allowed. Then I also have this shadow box that my mother actually made for everyone in the family a few years ago. There's a picture of my grandfather in uniform. There is one of his badges, and there is a postcard. During World War II, a lot of the postcards were distributed. So it's kind of neat to see, because you can see the postcard from 1945 on the postcard. But she spent a lot of time hunting down eBay, as you can imagine. And then lastly, my aunt actually took the prayer and used her embroidery machine and made wall hangings for everyone in the family as well.